Hello friends, and welcome to bispsolutions.com. My name is Amit, and today I am going to show you how to load metadata into Essbase queue. We would be using a simple flat file to load metadata, and I'll be using a Oracle Data Integrator ODI Studio. So this ODI Studio is part of your Oracle-EPM 11.124 installation. So if you're new to ODI, please do watch my ODI fundamental video. In this video, I assume you know the OBI basic keywords and jargons. This is a hands-on session, so I show you everything live, how things work. In our example, my source is flat file, and I'm using a staging synopsis memory engine, and my final output is Essbase outline. So this is a hands-on session. I'll show you everything hands-on, step by step. We are going to load metadata to this queue. This is called financial DB, FinDB queue. And I'm going to load new product under my product dimension. I also show you my data source file. For the sake of simplicity, I keep few products and based on parent-child relationship or generation reference relationship. You can use any one of them. So let's first create a load rule file, load this metadata into Essbase cube, test it, and do the same thing. We invoke this from Oracle Data Integrator. So I'm going to create a load rule file. You may be knowing all these steps already, but let's have a look at this. Create rule file, open data source. My data source is under my local folder, C drive, load new product, define delimiter. So I'm going to use a delimiter over here as comma. So it's field 1, split into 2 field. And I define mapping. I can use parent child method here. So go to dimension build setting. It all goes to my product. First one is your parent and second one is your child. Although you could use generation reference method as well, parent and child. So click OK. Okay, and you can see the field header over here. When you toggle between data load field to dimension field, you see the header. Define dimension build setting. As you see, you define dimension build setting. You are loading this for product dimension based on parent child reference method. You can validate this, no syntax error, and save this. I name this load rule file called load prod. I'll call this load rule file from ODI. When it is done, you can go to Oracle Data Integrator interface. I already configured. Please watch my previous video about configuring ODI in EPM environment and connect to your repository. This is default user supervisor and synopsis is your password. So step by step, first step I'll create my source, which is my flat file. I create a physical schema for my source. So go to file and I create data server for file and then physical schema. So I call this file Essbase metadata load and you define the driver for the file. So I'll be using default JDBC driver, JDBC file driver, and define the driver URL. This is a common URL in order to read from flat files, text files. Then next create a physical schema for your file. So I'm loading data from this path. Define the folder name over here, directory schema and work schema, and click on save. Then your physical schema is done. You create logical schema, logical architecture. Your technology is continued to be file. You can right click and create new logical schema. So name it file metadata load, Essbase metadata load. And map your logical schema to physical schema and save this. So first, then I go to designer and I complete all the steps for my source, which is file system, and then the same thing I do for my Essbase, which is target. I create new project. So name project, I'm going to name it, start with project, um, Essbase, file Essbase metadata load. I write in brief, and then I am going to import metadata. Okay. Import knowledge module. So I'm going to import knowledge module. My source is flat file and going to load intermediate synopsis memory engine. So I'll use lkm file to SQL. You can search over here as well. File to SQL and Essbase metadata. I can later on also I can append this, import this knowledge module. Then you go to model, create model folder first for your file system. So I call model folder file metadata load, and I create a model under the create new model called model file Essbase metadata load. I should be unique, I mean uniform definition, file Essbase metadata load, and your technology is file system, your logical schema file Essbase metadata load. We save it, and then under your model you create new data server, so that I'll bring all the uh, columns, or I read the flat file. So define your data server file Essbase metadata load. Define file details, it's a delimiter. The record separator is MS Office record, and file separator is comma. If you look at your source file, the comma is a delimiter, isn't it? So I use comma as delimiter over here. We save this. Then you go to column and you can do reverse engineering. Did I? Okay, I have not mentioned the file path. So under resource name, point to your file, call load new product and save it. And then you can reverse engineering. There you can see there are two columns, column 1 and column 2. Both of them are string type. Okay, so your source activity is done. Now your target is Essbase cube. The same step I need to do for Essbase cube. Create a physical architecture for Essbase cube first. So right click and create new data server. I call Essbase metadata load. Your Essbase is running in my local host, so I can write IP address, server name on local host. In case it is running in a local host, define your credential. Then create a physical schema for this. Right click and create new physical schema. Define your application name, which is FinOps and FinDB application database respectively. FinOps and FinDB. FinOps and FinDB. Okay. I save the details. Then I create a logical schema and map logical schema with physical schema. So I go to my technology as Essbase. Right click, create new logical schema. I can append logical Essbase metadata load and map to physical schema. Save it, and Next step, I go to designer and I do reverse engineering. I read all the dimension member of my Essbase. In order to do this, first you create a project. I name it project Essbase metadata. Save this, and under this I'm going to import my RKM. So on knowledge module, import your RKM Essbase IP and Essbase, and this will write from your staging to your Essbase. Okay. So that is your LKM Essbase metadata. Next step, I create a model folder for Essbase. So I call model folder Essbase metadata. Save this and create new model under this. Right click, create new model. I name it model Essbase metadata. Your technology is your Essbase and your logical schema. Then go to reverse engineering, go custom reverse engineering, make sure your RKM is selected, save it, and do reverse engineering. It will submit as an execution with log level. I can make it log level 6. Under operator, you can see your metadata retrieval is done or not. So I go to my session and I see my Essbase metadata is going on. I refresh, make sure the timestamp is correct. Yeah, it is 9:56. My metadata RKM is done successfully. As a result of this, you can see all the dimension members are retrieved. Okay, all dimension member of my Essbase cube got retrieved. You can compare over here. So you got account dimension, entity, period, product, and all. Right. Now the last step, I create interface and define mapping. Interface is like a mapping. Okay. You right click and create interface and define your source. So I call this interface Essbase metadata load, and define mapping. Your source is flat file, to drag and drop your flat file. And your target is your Essbase cube. I use C1, C2, you can give a name also to make it meaningful, because I'm loading this to product, so I drag and drop product. If you look at your target, you can load member, alias, data storage, to pass, consolidation, UD, multiple properties you can do. Right now I'm loading mapping to dimension member name, parent and child. Then you define flow. So staging, I wanted uh, staging should be synopsis, memory engine. So the staging, you check the flow, and here we define LKM and here I define IKM. Okay, so my LKM and LKM both are not selected. I go back and import both of them. So first one would be LKM and then IKM. Let's import them once again. So we LKM file to SQL. This is what we need to import. Check your knowledge module, and for your Essbase. So I right click and import file to SQL. Then I define IKM. There's a load knowledge module and integration knowledge module from SQL to my Essbase. So I can import integration knowledge module. Right click and import Essbase to file metadata. This is done. You save it. Make sure your mapping is done correctly. Now I need to define which load rule file I'm going to use. Load metadata. Select your Essbase. Define load rule file. The name of our load rule file is load prod. So I name it over here load prod. My delimiter is continue to be uh, it's a comma delimiter. So I continue the comma delimiter. Okay. Now we are ready to execute this knowledge module. So I'm going to right click and execute this interface. I'm sorry. Right click and execute this interface with job log label 6. Invoke this session started. Go to operator, refresh. If you have error, we'll debug the error as well. So everything gone successfully. The green check mark appears. I'll check my metadata. Right now I have only one product. When I refresh my outline, I see all these are new products are loaded through my ODI. Fine. So that's it for today. Do watch my next video about how to load data through Oracle Data Integrator. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to access more than 200 videos. You can also visit our site for any training and consulting requirement. So thanks for your time and have a great day ahead.